Hi everyone, we're here with the VSuccess. I'm Mario Michas. Maia.
Hi everyone, my name is Maia Fukuyama. I'm in my second year in the psychology program at Vanier College.
Today we have Dean Purdy of the Faculty of General Education. Dean Purdy, would you like to present yourself, please?
I'm Kelly Purdy, and I'm currently the new Faculty Dean of General Education. And prior to that, I was a teacher in the psychology department.
And what would you say are your most memorable moments at Vanier College?
Well, I've been at Vanier College since 2004, so there have been several memorable moments. But I would say that, there's not necessarily one that stands out, but all of the memorable moments I have are ones that really involve students. So whether it was in the classroom, sometimes it could be something as simple as, a classroom discussion ended up going in a direction that I didn't expect, and yet the students really enjoyed and we had a lot of fun with it. Those are definitely some memorable moments. And then of course, activities that were done outside of class. So for example, in the psychology department, what we used to do with students each semester, so at the beginning of each semester for the new incoming psychology major students, for example, we would hold a welcome session. And those events were really fun. A lot of the students would come, they were asking, what is psychology? What can you do in psychology? And we would give them pizza and other kinds of food. And of course, any event that involved food was always really popular with the students. So those are very memorable moments, and just those fun opportunities for teachers to interact with the students. Not only just teachers, I was also involved with some events that involve orientation activities for new students more broadly. And I think just having opportunities like that, even open house, when Vanier staff would be discussing Vanier life with new prospective students and their parents, I think those types of events are the ones that are most memorable.
So you studied and you also taught psychology. Where does your interest for psychology stem from?
Well, I guess, for students who have taken psychology either as a program course or even maybe complementary, it's really trying to understand how people think and behave. So I guess for me, I was always very curious about why do people do the things they do? You'd see friends and family do things and you'd wonder, why do they do that? And so I guess from the time sort of late high school, early university years, that curiosity, I guess, was always there. And then I took my first psychology class at university and I was like, oh, here are some possible answers to my questions. So I think that's where that interest started. And the other thing, I guess, that sort of maintained my interest in studying psychology and why I love teaching it was the fact that there are so many kind of sub-disciplines or subcategories of questions and fields. So within psychology, you can look at child development. You can look at, how psychology helps athletes, right? So within sports psychology. So it's a very broad field, in terms of how does the brain work? How do we interact with each other in social groups? Because it covers such a variety of interesting topics, that really intrigued me and is what maintained my interest across the years.
Yes, I think psychology really allows you to understand human nature and human behavior, and that's always a valuable thing in one's life.
Yes, I agree.
I also studied music. Could you elaborate on how you incorporated both the disciplines of music and psychology?
Yeah, so it's actually very interesting. When I was actually originally studying music at university, so that I had planned to be a professional musician. And then that's when I took psychology as a course and realized this other very interesting field. I've been very lucky, though, I guess, in the sense that the interests align very well. When I first started at Vanier, there was a new, what we call the double deck program. So I'm sure a lot of students are familiar with that in double decks in social science and music. And I was involved in sort of doing a bit of consultation on the implementation of that program. Because people knew my interest and background in music, they said, well, a very natural fit between these programs is, what about a course in the psychology of music? And so that was a course I developed back in the late 2000s, and it remains as a course that's still offered today. And so I felt very fortunate that I was able to bring these together, because psychology, we're interested in how people think and behave. Psychology of music, we know that people feel differently when they listen to music, they think differently in music types of situations. So the two interests gelled together really nicely in that course.
Yes, it's very fortunate that you were able to foster both of your main interests and kind of create something for other people to follow their interests if they overlap in the same way.
What ultimately led you to sort of have a career in academia and in academic management?
Throughout my studies, I was always very interested in helping people. Like I would be a tutor, and then I would, at university, I was what they called a teaching assistant for a lot of classes. And so through those kinds of opportunities, I really enjoyed them. And then I saw the opportunity to kind of extend that once I finished my own schooling. When I finished my studies at McGill, I did a bit of teaching at Vanier, and I was also doing a bit of teaching at Concordia at the time. And I really gravitated to the college system more because I saw that as an opportunity to really interact more closely with the students. I think CEGEP is a great time for students to kind of explore their interests, their strengths, their weaknesses, and really build on what they want to achieve, right? So whatever success is for a student, however, whatever strengths or skills they want to develop, it's a great opportunity and time during an educational career to do that. And so I really felt that was a very exciting place to be in, which is why I continued in the college teaching. As you pointed out, I have recently now joined administrative ranks, and I see that as an extension of being able to help support students in their academic studies, just from a different role, right? So not necessarily in the classroom, but from a more administrative level. But I also still see it as a very great way to be able to support students in their academic pursuits.
Thank you for that.
And speaking of interests, do you have any interests outside of the academic world?
Well, I guess we touched a little bit on music. So luckily, I've always, from the time I was 9 years old, I've always sort of played in a band or in an orchestra. I play clarinet, although I'm very rusty now. So over the last number of years, I haven't had as much time to kind of devote to that. But up until just about 5 years ago, I was still playing regularly with local community orchestra, for example. So that is still something I enjoyed, and one of these days I'll get back into. I also enjoy biking. I like cycling, not a winter biker, I'll have to say. I know a lot of people are really into winter biking now. I'm more of a fine weather cyclist, but I do enjoy that as well.
Yes, it's very important in addition to keeping ahead in your career to also keep on track with your emotional and physical health. And creativity and exercise are definitely the best ways to do that.
So you served on a research ethics board at the college. What advice do you have to students who are looking to get involved in research?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I often find what happens with college-age students, college-age students are not necessarily the ones who are always the ones doing the research. They're often the subjects of other people's research. So the Research Ethics Board is actually, it's a group that, for example, monitors any kind of research that wants to be done at the college involving human participants. So for example, if McGill wants to use college students to participate in a study, that all goes through the Research Ethics Board to make sure Vanier students are being asked to do research that is ethical, right? So a lot of times the way students get involved in research is by being the participant. So that's obviously one way that is, I guess, a way to get involved is to kind of respond to sometimes these surveys and things like that. The other way, though, is primarily at the college level. The way to get involved in research is through certain classes. So, for example, in social science, all the students in social science take a research methods class where the students get to learn a little bit about what it means to conduct research themselves. I also know that within science, so for example, within biology, there's opportunities for students to do research as well. A lot of times to do research, though, that tends to happen a bit more at the university level. For college students, you know, there are courses or there are opportunities to participate as a participant. And that is often a great way to learn about research. In fact, I still remember myself you know, early on in my university studies, I volunteered for a couple strange research projects, but I'm not necessarily recommending everybody goes and volunteers for these things. Just read the fine print carefully, but certainly that also contributes to learning how research is done by actually being a participant in the research.
Thank you. I think a lot of students now have a better sort of understanding of how to get involved in research at Vanier.
Do you have any advice for students interested in pursuing psychology?
Yes, well, I guess it depends on the courses they're taking. Psychology teachers will often get a lot of questions about, well, how do I become a psychologist, and so forth. And sometimes, as the psychology teachers are sometimes hesitant to answer that, because if students hear how long it takes, it can often sound quite discouraging. But the recommendation or the often advice that I know I will give students is, you know, continue taking the classes, see if it's something that you're interested in, because sometimes I think students think psychology is one thing, and then it turns out to be more sciencey, for example, than they expected. But then other times students are pleasantly surprised. So some students who didn't think they were interested in psychology actually realize they quite like the topic. And also, you know, I guess if people are thinking, you know, should I consider a career in psychology? As I think, Mario, you pointed out before, psychology is in general about how people think and behave. And most careers and jobs that people have involve people, right? So even, you know, even if you're not sure if you want to take psychology, just having taken a course in it will help you better understand people for whatever type of job you end up doing in the future. I would say try different courses, right? Try the topic, see what it's about, and see if it kind of fits with your interests.
What currently inspires you in your current profession?
I guess what inspires me is and what kind of motivates me every day is seeing the difference that what I or the people around me are doing. You know, one of the great things about Vanier is there is a common goal that, you know, no matter what people are doing at Vanier and what position they have, what their job category is, really the spirit of a lot of what we do is about supporting students and helping. You know, I know the phrase student success gets used a lot, and, you know, success can mean many things. Success can mean improving skills, improving time management, passing a course, or getting a good grade in a course. There's so many definitions of success. And I think what motivates me is the fact that Vanier has so many measures in place to really support that in students. So I guess I feel lucky that on a almost daily basis, I see the results of this. So I see students doing well in a course, or I see students like yourselves engaged in these extracurricular activities, that Vanier has a lot of great opportunities in place where students can realize a lot of different potential. So it's part of the job I really enjoy. And even now from an administrative role, I guess, kind of seeing that the projects that are put into place and the support for these projects, seeing them really unfold and really work for students is very satisfying.
Yes, I think most of the staff at Vanier are very focused on helping students and are very generous with their time in improving student initiatives. And I appreciate the fact that you're sharing this endeavor to help students.
And do you have any parting academic, professional, or life advice that you'd like to share with our viewers?
It's a great question. You know, it's funny. Sometimes I think about, you know, what would I have told myself back when I was an 18-year-old? Like, would I have told myself to do something different or whatnot? And I think, there's a lot of pressure on students, right? I know, and besides from what's happened over this past year, I know students are very goal oriented. People are always saying, what do you want to be? What are you going to study next? And there's always these sort of constant goals that come up. And so I guess one piece of advice I kind of wish I had taken myself is that I would have tried to have enjoyed the moment a bit more. So rather than always thinking about where I'm going next, so what course do I have to make next to graduate, or what program do I need to apply to next? Yes, we have to make those sort of future plans, but also to really try to enjoy what you're doing in the moment, because it's, in the grand scheme, I feel like I'm going to sound like an old person saying this, but life does start to speed up and it goes pretty fast. So I guess my one piece of advice I'd have for students is, try to enjoy and take and learn what you can from the moment. Like, what can you learn from your CEGEP experience? Things that you might have learned about yourself and realize, oh, I thought I liked this, or I thought I would become this, but I'm seeing other potential. So just really kind of being where you are, trying to enjoy what you're doing, trying to learn more about yourself from the classes that you're taking. I mean, I've heard many times, like, students will say, I thought this course would be about something else. And so I often will say, well, maybe a course will help you learn what you're not interested in just as much as what you are interested in. So as much as possible, to really try to slow down a bit, try to enjoy the moment. And I know sometimes students feel like they're getting behind, or they've lost a semester, even through this past year. I know it really derailed a lot of students' plans. But in the grand scheme of things will unfold as they're supposed to. And as long as you're doing and enjoying what you're doing and feel as though you're still learning, then try to be okay with where you are right now.
I think that's an amazing piece of advice, and you said it very well. Mindfulness is something that is very important to practice, especially today in the times we're in, and being flexible with what is thrown your way is equally as important, and will be also very applicable throughout your life.
Well said.
So we've come to the end of the interview. For our viewers, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching again. Maia, thank you for being here. Dean Purdy, I thank you as well. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.